In a recent poll of 1,000 American parents, they were asked, if you could choose for your children beauty, brains, athleticism, or great communication skills, the number one choice was great communication skills. But when we look at the shit they don't teach in school, the proper cadence of question asking and how to properly communicate is not in the curriculum. Today's episode and today's special guest is designed specifically to help you become a better and more effective communicator. This is a can't miss episode. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. This dude was raised in East London. That means he has a Cockney accent. He came stateside to play soccer, or what they grew up calling footy. He is one of the best communication coaches in the country. I just shared the stage with him at Mortgage Con earlier this year. He is my new friend, the one, the only, Jamie Miller. Jamie, welcome to TLOP.
Man, that was a colorful introduction.
Cheers. I warned you, right?
You did. You did warn me.
Yes.
That was
yes.
Awesome.
I think we all need that like WWE entrance. Like we need the music and we need the intro. And I just don't think enough of us get it. So it's all about starting it off with the right energy.
Well, we're the same age. It was called WWF back in the day.
Like, you know what?
Ultimate Warrior.
Look, my friend from across the pond,
right.
I just didn't know if, the BBC was showing the WWF back in the day.
Oh, it was. I went to British Mania.
No way. Yeah. I didn't even know there was a British Mania.
Yeah,
I should know that.
It got ruined for me when I went live, because when you're watching on TV, I went live and I remember we were near the ring and like you could see them talking to each other. Yeah. And it kind of ruined it for me. It was like Christmas, like Santa Claus doesn't exist. I was 15 at the time, so I was like, oh man, like I still love it. Still immense respect for the athleticism and everything, but it was definitely, that was a memorable experience.
Yeah, it was interesting because we knew it was fake. Our uncles told us fake. Our parents told us fake. Right? No, it's not fake. It's not fake. And then
no one. My parents went into it. Like I just grew up loving the Ultimate Warrior. My friends and I would just the Jimmy Fly Super Snugger.
Yes,
and, launch
the British Bulldog,
the Macho Man. Like
the Iron Sheik, Hulk Hogan. We could keep on going.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to talk about this stuff today, but like, it was just as you were like saying WWM, like in my head, I'm just like, hey, we're the similar age. And it was big. It was big in England too.
So you're sitting in John Coleman's seat. You just met JC, but JC is my producer extraordinaire. He's my co-host, and he's typically who makes the show. So no pressure, but today you get to make the show.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about your skill set of helping people like me become better communicators, people like our audience become better communicators. But sitting in JC's seat, anytime I have a WWE reference, the first thing he does is corrects me. He's like, it's WWF. Like, he is the first guy. He will not let me get away with it. But you are a transplant to Florida, right? You and I live probably 15 minutes away from each other. You went to Rollins College. For those that don't know, it's a pretty prestigious, uppity private school in Central Florida. I'm pretty confident that Paul McCartney's stepdaughter went to Rollins and graduated probably about 10 years ago.
Correct.
But you came over to play soccer.
And I wouldn't have been able to go to Rollins if it wasn't for soccer.
If it was.
All right. So like just to put that out there.
But growing up, I grew up here where I grew up in Florida. And in Florida, yes, professional wrestling was a big deal. And probably still is, because I remember taking my son to WrestleMania when it was held in Orlando. And I'm trying to think at the time, I think Goldberg made like a special return. So he and I had matching Goldberg t-shirts. And there's probably floating around on Facebook a picture of he and I close to the ring because we had someone hook us up with decent seats. But anyhow, that's not what today's show is about.
Right.
Today's show is about getting to know Jamie Miller. Today's show is about, conscious communication? What's the name of your company?
So actually a friend of mine who came up with it at the very beginning, like 6 years ago. And he said, how does art of conscious communication sound? And well, think about it consciously. The word sales, do people love the word sales?
No.
Okay. So rather than...
You know who loves sales? Salespeople. And they only love it when you say, what do you do for a living? Or how do you live in that house? Oh, I'm in sales. They say it very proudly. But the rest of us...
Right, but if I'm going to be coaching people and aligned and create the right cultural fit for myself, conscious communication is going into conversation with a predetermined outcome for that, all right, which is technically all aligned with sales. Too many people say certain words and they don't realize what the other person's hearing. I did this from stage. You saw me at MortgageCon, and I prove it as a point. I'm like, hey, if you have someone say to you, I'm not here to sell you something, all right? Everyone in the world, if I say I'm not here to sell you, what do you hear me say?
I'm going to sell you.
I'm going to sell you. So anyone out there who's listening in, your audience, if they're saying to people, we're not going to try and recruit you, we're not going to try and sell you, they don't realize, or they're saying it unconsciously, or if they're saying it consciously, even more scary, they're basically saying, we're not going to try and do something, but the other person is hearing, you're going to do something. If you want to bring in clients who are, let's say, the most successful, you don't get to where you get in life, Dustin, holding a podcast, having thousands of people watch it without knowing what you're doing and not quitting and doing the 5-year journey step to step. Rather than me telling you I'm not here to sell you, I'm better off saying, hey, Dustin, I'm 100%, I'm here to win your business. I'm 100%, all right? And now I've started with a better thing, and I've removed all the resistance from the sale on that basis. I mean, there's more, but obviously we can't get through everything today, but like the words, negative connotation, inconvenience. Hope I'm not being an inconvenience. You weren't being one, but now that you mentioned the word, it's... So with regards to sales, I think, you asked about the name. It came about because no one likes the word sales. So it was like conscious communication.
The art of
the art.
conscious
Everyone loves the art. Yes. The art of conscious
Yeah,
communication.
and that's the company that you founded 6 years ago.
Correct.
Okay.
Now abbreviated to AOCC.
AOCC. Not to be confused with AOC out of the state of New York.
Add the extra C on the board, all right?
AOCC, the art of conscious communication.
Correct.
Well, speaking of sales,
Right.
we have sales to make over here at TLOP.
Right.
So we're going to take a quick pause
Okay.
for a quick message from today's show sponsor. Anybody who is originating FHA loans, if you are not familiar with what Hoper is and what Hoper does, this is your call to action. Hoper is a home buyer incentive program. They offer up to $13,000 to home loan applicants that are utilizing FHA as their financing to either purchase or refinance their property. Obviously, you can go to Google and you can look them up, HOPER, or why don't you just reach out to my boy, Mike Pareto. Mike's number is 602-400-6433. That's 602-400-6433. All right, perfect. Now we can slide right back into the art of conscious communication and why you are on today's show, but also like, what have you been doing? Why were you at MortgageCon? What are you doing with the real estate community? How are you helping, not just, by the way, sales professionals? How about better communication skills within your relationship, whether you're single and you're trying to attract the right birds? You like how I did that for you. I'm only going to slide in like 2 or 3 more because I'm the king of dad jokes. Okay. So if there's a bad joke or a dad joke, it's going to come from me. Whether you are, married for 25 years, but you want to have a deeper connection, or how about all the parents out there? How do you get your children to do what you want them to do without them feeling like you're demanding it? And I think it's I know it's what you teach and what you've been practicing for 2 decades. And now you help thousands become more proficient. I think that is today's episode. It's why I was so emphatic in the soft open that y'all do not want to miss this. Where do we best start? And I think that question was for me because I just asked it of you, but I'm going to ask it of me. where do you, Dustin, want to take this conversation with Jamie? And I think I first want to start before we get into some of your Jedi mind tricks. That's what I call them. Jamie doesn't call them that. I call them that. How did you get started in this? Like, what was your intro? When was your big aha moment? And at what point were you like, that's what I want to do? That's my calling.
All right. So first off, my girlfriend's daughters might say I've got you beaten on the dad joke scenario. So that's interesting. Second off, so, you might not be the first person who's ever heard this, but no, I'm Jamie Miller. If you ask your audience, have you ever heard of Jamie Miller? No.
Yes.
All right. We're of similar age. I call it my Jerry Maguire moment. All right. So in that movie, if you remember it, he has a sleepless night. All right. And he writes this like 300-page prospectus. How can I be, more helpful in this sports agent world?
What they call it, a memo? It is not a memo, or it's just a memo. Anyhow. Yeah.
So in 2018, December, I'm someone where if I want something in life, I believe all humans, when they really want something, they get resourceful. I'm not going to say life goes like this, but I'm going to say when you want something, you figure out a way how. You've already shared that I played soccer and I went to Rollins. What you don't know is when I was 12, 13, a couple of boys from my high school went to Rollins on soccer scholarships. I had always come to America, so I was like, I want to live in America. Now I had the clarity. I don't teach motivation like rah-rah cheerleader. It's like, I believe motivation in clarity. So once I was like, okay, what did those kids do in order to get soccer scholarships by the coach at Rollins? And I basically just mirrored what they did. So I was disciplined and I practiced every day, kicked the ball around the house, probably upset my mum, went into the shed, got the paint cans, dribbled in and out of them all day long, every day, visualized, played sufficient games, played for the right teams, represented the independent schoolboy set up for England at under 16. If any of your people watching know soccer, they'll I've got a program at home where it says F Lampard, J Miller, and that's Frank Lampard, who currently manages Coventry City, one of the top scorers in Chelsea's history. And I say all that to say 6 years ago, so I was late to the entrepreneur journey in comparison to some people.
So you graduated from Rollins. You went to work for this company called Dynatech, and
Correct.
Dynatech was a behemoth
I found the seminar world.
You found the seminar world coming out of college.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you weren't looking for a seminar company. You were looking for a W-2 position where they could help you with a work visa.
I wanted to live in America.
You want to live in America.
So
that was the
whatever
goal.
was going to get me.
That was the goal.
Look, I've always maintained nothing necessarily happens by accident. All right. And I don't think, if this is predominantly loan officers, let's say 70% of the audience, they're listening to messages and doing self-talk right now of like this Redfin or Rocket Fuzz, whatever it might be, is going on. And they're having negative self-talk. That's the communication, negative self-talk. I'm someone where it was like, okay, our relationships are important. Me building a relationship with you can make dramatic difference for Jamie Miller in the future, but things have to be genuine. So it's always done with abundance. It's like me being on here today is not a reflection on me. I'm actually a reflection on you. That's why, as you were saying, you're going to be very, very strict on who you bring to sit in this chair. I fostered relationships with people so that when I wanted to live in America after college, it was like, who would hire me? Not only who would hire me, who would go to the lengths that the visa process required me to do. And no one knows this from other podcasts, so this is great, I guess, from one standpoint. The theatre director at the time was someone who, I didn't even do many theatre classes at Rollins, but I'm an extrovert. I built a relationship, and he introduced me to the head of HR for Dynatech, and then, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah. I'm noticing right now, if you're watching on YouTube, which, 2/3 of our audience, they listen, right? They tune in on Spotify and Apple, but a third of our audience is on YouTube. And I always ask the 2/3 who aren't, because I'm a bit of a simpleton myself, I have a hard time watching the audience grow on Spotify and Apple, but I can watch the audience grow on YouTube because every time a new subscriber clicks that subscribe button, it goes up. So I always ask, if you're not watching us, go to our YouTube channel. We are TLOP, aka the Loan Officer Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. But if you subscribe and you're watching us and not just listening to us, you'll see that Jamie has his cell phone on the table. And on the back of his cell phone is Ted Lasso, and it is the word believe. You and I have not talked about this at length at all, but what I'm picking up already, Jamie, from if I'm trying to learn from the book or the gospel, what would Jamie Miller do, which is on your wrist? If I was thinking that, I'm like, well, I have to change my belief system first and foremost. Before I get into the art of communication, conscious communication, that is, it's my belief system. You had a belief system when you were 13 years old that you could go to the U.S., play soccer, and get a college education. And your belief system was one in which, because you knew 2 kids from your town who did it.
But it transcends into our business lives too, and all walks of life. But it also doesn't, you can't remove the ingredients of, when I say the discipline, I just studied sales. I studied people. Like, people say, Jamie, did you study psychology? I'm like, I studied psychology of life, of people.
Going back to 11, 12, 13 years of age?
Well, no, not necessarily. Look, now, there's, in England and even in America, there's the expression gift of the gab. I've got myself to a place now that I believe you don't need gift of the gab. I'm proving all day long, every day, that I've got people in life where they had zero confidence, did administrative things, but can they learn how to go into a conversation and ask the right questions? Yes. I think that Jamie Miller of Young and his friends would say, oh, gift of the gab. Okay. All right. That might have been an extrovertism, a confidence. All right. Which I think are great ingredients to have. However, they're not always necessary. I've gone into plenty of selling environments where I'm in front of someone and I've garnered understanding. Hey, have you, like, rather than me saying I'm nervous right now, I'm not going to say I'm nervous. That's a statement. I'm just going to turn around to you. Hey, have you ever had a time where you got in front of someone, Dustin, and you were nervous?
Yes.
Okay. That tells me you're not a narcissistic, egotistical piece of work that I can have a conversation with. Because if you say I've never been nervous, we're not going to be aligned. And I can share with your audience, no one's going to align with 10 out of 10 people. All right. So with regards to that, it's what I call the garnering of understanding. All right. So I learned, how do I get someone to never feel sold? You put them in your shoes. All right, there's wording. Maybe I always usually save the best till last, but like, if you were me, is the greatest communication play. You don't need a British accent. All right, you don't need to use the same words. If you were me, you could be like, hey, are we on the same page when it comes to da da da? It's almost an agreement.
I love if you were me. Like, if you were me. That's 4 words. Might not even be 10 letters, but we could maybe count them at another time.
But watch this. Most people who do what I do for a living, they get employed by a corporate entity to come along and teach sales. Okay. And they'll come in and you'll get, and Jamie, how would you deal with this objection? And then the sales coach will teach. When someone says this, you say this, and I'm more like, let's not make something scripted or word for word. If someone says something, and then go one step further, because you brought this up earlier, our business life and our personal lives can be completely aligned with how we communicate. We can use the same psychology, we can use the same premise with regards to what we want our responses to be. I'll give you an example. Kids will say, if you have kids and you love them, may not always like them, all right, your kid does something naughty or terrible, or a best friend does something out of order to you. All right, the first thing flippantly as a society, when someone does something completely out of order to you, what's the first question that comes out your mind that you're going to ask them?
Why'd you say that?
Okay. Why'd you say that? Why'd you do that? Thank you, Dustin. All right. That's what most society is saying too. That's a perfect way of me segueing and sharing that's not conscious. Because if you said to someone that did something, why did you say that? Why did you do that? You've asked a question that now gives that a person the ability to justify to you why they said what they did. At the end of their answer, you're not going to be like, oh, I completely agree with you and I love you for it. All right. Same way, someone says, I think your rates are high in the loan officer industry. Different kids doing something naughty. What were you thinking? Why'd you do that? Business. I think your rates are high. The loan officer turns around and says, why do you think they're high? All right. Now they're giving the client, the buyer, the ability to justify. Whereas if your kids or your friends does something out of order, or your kids do something naughty, instead of saying, why do you do that? Why do you say that? Watch the difference in your outcome when you turn around more consciously and say, hey, humor me. Why shouldn't you have done that? And then let them, you'll see their eyes go in their head and they're going to think of a different reason. Same way, just again, not a verbiage word for word, but if a loan officer says, a loan officer hears, I think your rates are high, be like, hey, just humor me for a moment. Why would you actually say it's actually very reasonable?
Like, you ask them, why would you say my rates are reasonable? Because they just said your rates are high.
And I'm going to say, and I'm going to turn around, because your audience has probably learned this. Whoever asks questions steers a conversation. But most of the world makes statements. All right. If a loan officer gets asked, what are your rates? If they just go and make a statement, they are 7%. Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks. All right. Whereas if they knew to ask a question, I say multiple choice questions psychologically are the best way to steer a conversation. I would say, hey, look, I'll absolutely share with you the rates. Let's say they're in Florida and they've got the most aggressive New Yorker, impatient New Yorker in front of them being like, what are the rates? All right. And be like, hey, absolutely. I'll share with you the rates just very quickly, extremely quick. Are you caring just about the rates, or do you also care about the caliber of the loan officer you're going with? All right. And it's having the conviction to ask that. Because if the person just says just rates, all right, you've got to have the capacity to be like, look, I can ask all your audience, and 10 out of 10 of them, I'll be like, do you want clients who only care about price shopping?
No.
Okay, you're saying no. I bet they're all saying no too.
They are all nodding with me right now. Yep.
Right. But the multiple choice question steers that conversation. If the guy says just rates, be like, yeah, we're probably not going to be a good fit, and be okay with in your life. Look, if I ask your audience, what value do you place on being better in communication? You said 1,000 people were surveyed,
yes,
parents, and they all said communication. If I ask your audience, I'm not going to tell your audience anything they should value in communication. Guys, you need to hire me because of da, 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 da. That's me making statements. If I ask your audience, hey, just wondering, do you guys place a low value or a pretty high value on your ability to communicate? And your audience can be like, oh my God, astronomical. Then I go, hey, Dustin, the stuff I teach, do you think it's taught in schools, or do you think that you don't learn this stuff in school and college?
You don't learn this stuff in school and college.
Okay, and now I said about the scholarship. Do you know how much Rollins College is today for a liberal arts education?
My guess, because I live in Central Florida, $84,000 a year.
Yeah. All right. So you're talking. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not like big, but that's over $300,000.
Yes.
For a liberal arts education. Okay. They're not. Can we agree? They're not learning the things that I'm teaching on this podcast in emotional intelligence, soft skills, asking best questions to sell something.
Nope, they are not.
Okay. So as long as my investment is less than $84,000 a year, is that a sensible investment for someone then?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm not telling someone something. I'm asking them. It's the same verbiage that loan officers can use when they've got clients in front of them. Just like what I was saying, if they feel like they're getting price shopped and they have to match things, if they're willing to match things, it's saying less about the value they place on themselves. But they have to get the other person to be like, yeah, if you were me.
If you were me. So I'm going to circle back on two things.
Yeah.
One, because I owe it to myself and to the audience, because I started something that I didn't finish. So I'm going to go back and finish kind of and we'll do it quickly.
Okay.
The Jamie Miller story arc, because we need to go back to 6 years ago when you had that belief, I'm going to go out, the Jerry Maguire kind of episode, so to speak. But I also wanted to get clarification. So I'm going to come back to finishing out our story.
Right.
But I want to get clarification because I loved how you did this. You were talking about a child being naughty, and you're talking about a borrower telling a loan originator that their rates are high.
Right.
And our natural inclination is to ask the child, why did you do that? And
Correct.
You're saying, don't ask, why did you do that? Go ahead and ask the child, what could you have done differently? Or
in your own verbiage, like just, hey, what is something different you could have done?
Okay.
All right. Oh, I'll give you an example.
Because I'm not asking them to justify their behavior. I'm asking them to actually come up with a alternative solution, understanding that alternative solution more than likely is the solution that I, as the parent, prefer than what they gave.
I'll give another clarity example, right? It's very easy. Okay. And parent, if you're asking these kind of questions in your house, in your personal life, it's going to transcend into your professional existence. You can't be an amazing professional in your career or professionalism and a complete amateur at home. Now, most parents, they love their kids. They want to feed their kids vegetables. Great example.
Okay.
All right. So the kid has got broccoli in front of them, and the kid turns around and makes a statement. I don't want to eat the broccoli. And every parent then asks 2 questions in this order. How do you know you don't like them? That's a question. How do you know you don't like them? And little Bobby says, I just know, as an answer. Okay. The second question, have you ever tried them? All right. Another question. And little Bobby says, no. All right. So it's the same thing in professional existence with regards to your rates are high. Why do you think they're high? It's the same as you asking, how do you know you don't like them? All right. So I'll give you, so my conversation, I'm feeding Bobby broccoli. He goes, I don't want to eat the broccoli, Dad. All right. Now my son's name's not Bobby, but hypothetically.
Yes.
Okay. I'll be like, Bobby, just out of curiosity, do you think Daddy feeds you healthy because he doesn't care about you at all, or because he really cares? All right. It's a multiple choice question because it steers the conversation. Just say, what are your rates? I'll share with you the rates. Do you care just about the rates, or do you also care about the caliber of the loan officer you're using? I'm sharing with you here, and hopefully for your audience, how you don't have to make everything just, they say this objection, you've got, it's understanding the psychology of, I need to make a multiple choice question now because it helps steer a conversation in the direction that I want it to go. There's no exact verbiage or word for word.
It's the framework, the strategy.
Yes. So, Bobby, do you think Daddy feeds you healthy because he does or doesn't care about you? Because you care. Okay, Bobby. What benefits would you then come up with for at least, and using the words at least, trying the broccoli? And little Bobby might be going, I don't know, Dad. All right. And then I know Bobby's not going to listen to me. But if I go in, like, you know, at home in the kitchen, I'm like, hey, Alexa, what are the benefits of Bobby eating broccoli? All right. Alexa's then going to go off on a tangent about the benefits, and little Bobby's listening to these benefits on Alexa because he won't listen to me. And Alexa goes, the benefits of eating broccoli are da 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 da. Okay. Hey, Bobby, what one thing that Alexa just shared stood out for you positively? And little Bobby goes, well, the thing about the brain, Dad. And now I don't stop there and make it logical, because if you make it logical, that's amateur sales, okay? Well, then you should eat it. I'm going to layer and evoke more emotion. Well, why is having a good brain important, Bobby? Well, having a good brain is important for these reasons, Dad. Okay. All right. So now you just said that, how would you feel if you had a really good brain, Bobby? I would feel amazing, Dad. Okay, so what are your thoughts now? I should probably at least try it. And I'm like, I agree with you. The same verbiage is happening in our professional existences. It's going into a conversation. Every conversation, anyone who's listening in should be going into a conversation with the words, I agree with you, in their mind before they even start the conversation. And if you want to get someone else to a place where you can say to them, I agree with you, it's simply put asking what's in it for them to have you in their life. And
so
also
what's in it to my counterpart. So I'm going to go sit down with the founder of my company.
Correct.
And I know what I want to have as the outcome of the conversation.
Right.
And I've been within the organization and I've been doing my job well. And I feel like there's a place that I fit in, but I can't just come out making statements. I need to come out asking questions with my end goal, meaning I say I agree after I've led the conversation down a certain path.
Perfect. So I help people get raises at their jobs. All right.
Okay.
All right. So if I think of you going into a conversation, and again, it's me teaching, I call it the wax on, wax off method of coaching. Because what I can share with my daughter, her saying the words I want. She comes to me, it's the same as you going to your boss, wanting a raise. All right. It's the same as my daughter coming to me at 8 years of age, wanting a cell phone. All right. My daughter comes up to me, Dad, I want a cell phone at 8. Me, no, you're not getting one. Your brother didn't get one till he was 12. Okay. if my daughter comes to me with a question, starts the dialogue, Dad, do you care about my safety? All right, we're having a completely different outcome. What if she knows to evoke my own? Of course I care about your safety. Why, Dad? Well, I'd kill some of my bare hands, Ruby, if they mess with you. Dad, how would it feel to know my whereabouts and my safetyness at all times? What if I give her an objection? Very funny, Ruby, you're not getting a cell phone. Mm-hmm. What if she looks at me and goes, I'm a bit confused, Dad? Huh? There was this strange man at the school. He was freaking me and my friends out. She's getting a cell phone. Now, Dustin wants a raise, okay? Remember the words, if you were me?
If you were me.
Okay, so watch this. Hey, look, first off, how do you feel when someone gives you a compliment?
Great.
I'm going to let everyone in on this secret. You know how the 5 love languages? Like, right,
yep.
One of them being words of affirmation. All your audience needs to know this, all right? Everyone loves words of affirmation. Everyone loves praise, all right? I didn't invent that concept. They love being praised. Don't you think if you're going to a boss, all right, is it very easy and natural that you can praise them? Look, well done, Dustin. Well done on being you. Like, I'm you going, well done. You're phenomenal. You're fantastic. I love working for you. When you do X, Y, Z, it's amazing. Hey, is it okay if I share something with you? Just curious. I've been through these reviews, all right, and I've been here for 5 years. Am I having a natural thought that, based on everything, I am pretty valued here? Would that be an accurate thing? Just human. What is one thing that I've done recently that just really stood out for you? Well, it would be
X, Y, or Z. Yep.
Okay. Look, am I on the same page? If you're like me, you value your time, right? Okay. So is it normal for me to think that, like, you always want to be fairly compensated for your time? All right. And use the word fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fairly compensated for your time. Okay, so given that I've done all right, can you see where me getting a raise is actually a very sensible thing to do? Yes, and again, I'm going
correct. Yes, I mean every situation is going to bring its own unique.
But here's what I'm not saying: I want a raise.
Yes,
which is what most people like. Hey, I want to talk to you. I don't care. I want a raise. I don't care. It's putting them in your shoe. Do you always want to feel like when you come in here for work that you're fairly compensated? Yes. Okay. So given that you value me, given that I did X, Y, Z, and given all these things, am I having a natural thought that now is a good time for us to sort out a fair raise? And you want to use the word fair consciously. Do you have kids?
I do. Yep. Okay. 17 and 20.
Okay. When they were younger, all right. Did you ever put it in their hands to choose? And people love this. You ever give them a chance to come up with their own punishment where you say, what do you think is a fair punishment? And they would say something way worse than what you were going to do, correct?
Yes, every time.
Okay. Same psychology works when you're asking for a raise. You don't want to throw out a figure. My daughter and her friend Ali made $501 more than what they were going to make based on using the word fair and estate sale. True story. I pull up with Ruby. I'm dropping her off. They're trying to raise money for their theatre troupe.
Okay.
And again, it's just an example of where it transcends. Professional, Dustin wants a raise. Ruby and her friend want to earn more money at a
garage sale. Yep. Estate sale. Yep.
So they're outside. I happen to pull up with Ruby at this very moment, and her friend Ali is asked by someone standing in the front lawn, how much for this item? And then it goes, that'll be $3. All right. And the woman said, sold. Here. So the woman leaves happy. I said to Ali and Ruby, I said, hey girls, do you want to make more money today? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to give you some great advice. Here's the deal. You have got to tally how much you were going to sell it for and how much you get different. All right.
By literally saying, just pay me what's fair.
Okay.
I'm guessing.
Well,
I'm
first off,
jumping ahead.
When someone, all I said is when next person or people come up to you and say, how much for this item, just for our subtle, can I take it that you like that item? They're going to say yes. Okay. What would you say is a fair amount then for that item? And they earned $501 more as a result of doing that based on what they were willing to sell it for to what they actually got. Because just using the word fair.
And these are middle schoolers?
High schoolers.
High schoolers, yeah. So
Yeah.
not professionals. No college education, no degree, no crazy internships.
I have high schoolers in my legacy platform today, one from Washington, D.C., Aitan, who was like, he's selling window cleaning. And he was going through his pitch, and I'm just like, are you noticing you're doing a lot of the talking right now? He goes, I am. I said, you're not asking any questions. The most amateur play I see in sales, hands down, doesn't matter what the industry is someone let me start by telling you all about myself. Let me start by telling you all about what I can do for you. I'm like, well, who's doing all the talking? I am. Okay, who should be doing the talking? They should. So it's just asking the questions you want the answer to.
What, so I was getting into this earlier. I told you I was going to circle back to it.
Yeah.
So, I do love your life story, and I wish you were. I mean, we don't have time to do a deep dive into it, but there's a lot to learn there, right? The 13-year-old who had a vision, who had a dream, the college kid who then graduated and still had a vision and a dream, and you're very intentional with a lot of your actions, at least by setting goals. But you went to work for the company that you found it found you. Nothing in life happens without some kind of a rhyme or a reason, even if it's not as crystal clear to us. But you spent almost a decade with this company that was pretty big in the seminar space.
Correct.
And were these seminars sales seminars primarily?
It didn't matter what it is. Like, you want to learn how to invest in stock options. You want to learn how to flip real estate. All right.
Okay.
It didn't matter. I worked as a speaker in the cannabis industry on how to, and it's an interesting world. What I took from that is I'm someone whereby I don't think anything is necessarily easy. I think things are simple, all right? But all you're looking at is someone who...
I love that. I'm stealing that.
Okay.
It's not easy, but it's simple.
Everything's simple.
Yes.
The advice I gave you and Julia earlier, it's simple, yet it's profound because people don't think to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you study anything about habit formation, right? Running a marathon is simple. Quitting smoking is simple. You know, quit smoking? Don't put the cigarette on your lip. If you don't put the cigarette on your lip, you're guaranteed not to smoke. Unless you want to blow it up your nostrils, which I've seen people do, but it's what you just said. It's what'd you say? It's not easy, but it's simple. Okay.
And I was at the back of the room as a fresh-faced kid, like watching this speaker at the front room. And I'll give you an example. There was two of us at the back of the room. The other person, all right, next to me goes, that's easy, I can do that. Like, he self-confessed, like, that's easy, I can do that. And dude, I don't think that's as easy as what you think it is. All right. And here's what happened. That guy goes in front of the room, flops. All right. Me, you're looking at what you saw at MortgageCon. That was 3 years of talking to myself at home first before I ever got on a stage to be in front of it. They're going to love me. They're going to hate me. They're going to, that, right?
Were you on the road a lot for that decade?
For 2 decades.
So you were 20 years in that space?
Just 20 years in that space, and just basically all I did, just like with soccer, all right, my gift to myself is the discipline to study. All right, and watch this. There's so much I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should always be learning. All I am is a product where I'm teaching people everything I know, and I'm continually learning. But it's just a case of reading, like studying. If I say this, what reaction do I get? If I say this, what reaction do I get? And just compiling in my head, like, okay, Jamie, if someone says to you, what's the cost? If you start telling them, what do you mean cost? The big difference between cost and investment, like cost is going to Best Buy and buying something and paying it off for 5 years and it depreciates. Investment is return on investment. I never got the sale. Why? Because I'm telling them things, right? Whereas when I went, hey, just curious, you said, is there a big difference between a cost and an investment?
No.
There isn't? What would you, if I was to ask you to think why there is a difference between a cost and investment, what is something you would come up with? If you got the cost,
well, an investment gives me a return.
Huh. Okay. Tell me about that.
Well, if I'm going to invest money, my goal is that in 3, 5, or 7 years, I'm pulling out more money than I put in.
Okay, so we can agree there is a difference between a cost on buying something that goes down in value and an investment, something that goes up in value.
Yes, we can agree.
Okay, so now your audience gets to see there's a big difference in the outcome, where if I'm telling you there's a difference, asking you.
So you're answering my
and
question.
you even answered it wrongly at the
Yes.
start. Okay.
Yes, I
which
try
is
to throw you a
perfect
curveball.
Right. Okay. I love it. So Jonathan Haddad.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
He threw me a curve. I'm speaking on stage at Fuse.
Yes.
All right. Here's what he.
We'll be at Fuse podcasting from the trade show floor.
Well, let me show you something
Yes.
that guy did. All right. All right. And if he listens in, he'll love this, or someone who knows him.
Yeah.
The guy only wanted to challenge me. All right. So here's what happened. Jamie, dude, we're going to have you speak at Fuse.
Yep.
I'm like, great. And I heard from him in a week. So it's not like you have to wait the 3 days like in dating, like to call someone. All right. But I text him. I'm like, hey, you said the email would come through, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Nothing, crickets. All right. At that point, I was kind of like, I think he's testing me.
Yeah.
All right. So I finally, actually, we can go and have fun with this. All right. So you can see live. So I wrote him the good morning, March. There it is. All right. I was about to. He did that on purpose because when he introduces me and edifies me to the room, he's going to show them. This is how Jamie got me to re-engage with him using questions. In terms of rather that, because how many of you have to chase people
all day long?
Right.
It's, one of my favorite.
They might like this, your
Yes.
audience. All right.
Yeah,
One of the questions I wrote to him, good morning, exclamation mark, because I'm space up, exclamation mark. So I'm mirroring him.
Yep.
All right. Have you found a difference in pestering or persistence? Question mark. Your audience is not asking a question like that. Is there a difference in pestering and persistence? All
yes.
Right. Okay. Persistence is a healthy quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I've given myself permission to be what? Persistent.
So that was the first question.
That was the first question.
Because he was ghosting you. Jonathan's ghosting you when really he's testing you.
He's testing me.
And
so
then,
I then wrote, I usually pride myself on not reaching out so much without a response. All right. Am I missing something my end, or have you just been manic busy? All right. I said, it felt natural to, I'm now garnering understanding. It felt natural to text again since I'm actually coming to Detroit for a talk from April 9th to the 11th. Am I thinking straight that it would be good to catch up in person if you're around? Question. Hope life is absolutely stellar your end. All right. And he goes, there it is. All right. I was about to message you this week and mess with you a little bit. We are interested. Thank you for following up and being a sales professional. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. But he would look, I don't believe there's any, I like the idea of earning my business. So if I'm at the bottom of the mountain, I'm looking up. I'm not going up in the gondola. I'm happy to get those things because if I'm going to teach someone, this is how I did it, and they can mirror it from themselves. Mm-hmm. All right. But that, I didn't know that was ever going to see the light of day here on the podcast. I'm going to make this real simple and tight in a knot for you with the Jerry Maguire moment.
Yes, you've answered my question. My real question was, how did you gain all this knowledge? Your answer, the old school, old-fashioned, tried and true way. I spent 20 years on the road, pitching, selling, presenting, watching what worked, what didn't work, watch others succeed, others fail.
Reading books.
Reading books.
Studying, having companies that employ people to teach some good things, investing in myself to learn good things. Like there are things like neurolinguistic programming that are highly dangerous in the wrong hands. Mm-hmm. There are things I can get you to do. Okay. If the audience can see, I got you to shake your hand.
He did.
If I go like that, all right,
Yeah.
you're going to fist bump.
Yeah.
If I go, communication's very important, you're going to nod your head. All right. These are not all things that are taught to us in any school or when we're growing up. I'm in front of a room. All right. I want people to raise their hands. I want hands to stay up. Right. Nice and hard. There are things that you can do and command in front of a room that most speakers have not got any knowledge or clue. Most speakers, they go up, give their presentation. They don't even have a question in their whole entire presentation, and they want an outcome from a room, and they haven't asked a question of the room. All right. The first thing out of my mouth, building rapport. How many of you, like me, believe your ability to communicate is important? I've got everyone in the room already on my side about the topic I'm going to talk about. All right, there's massive differences in that. And again, within the realm of time, can't share everything, but I basically studied people in front of a room over the years, and my moment 6 years ago was, where does Jamie Miller provide value to another human being? All right, where do I believe myself? And that's where each day leading up to the point of being on this glorious show with you has just been not quitting, and just every day, and then caring more about how do I leave someone feeling.
So last question before we ask people, or ask you to share with people how they can learn more from Jamie Miller,
Right.
how they can see you on stage, whether you go to AIM Fuse or Mortgage Con, or you book Jamie to come to your company's event. I'm curious, just one entrepreneur to another.
Right.
The past 6 years, because 6 years ago you went out on your own.
Right.
What are the two things that stand out the most that you learned the past 6 years?
Okay, two things. One is price is irrelevant. And for any loan officer that's listening, if you think it's about rates, you're missing such key ingredients. It's not. The price is irrelevant. I went from $3,000 to 36 grand for the same exact service. Okay, price is irrelevant. All right. Two, figure out your non-negotiables for yourself. Everyone in the world says time is valuable. Everyone, I ask you, is time valuable? And then I'll ask, do they miss out on events with their kids and things based on time? All right, true story. I said I'm going to Tampa. You don't know why. All right. My daughter is in theatre troupe at States, and she's in Tampa. And I'm going to be doing a video for this, for social media, being like, the most grateful I am to myself is this. I took the leap, and I figured out that time was so important that Jamie Miller figured out last year the gift of what happens if he only works 100 hours the whole entire year. All right, so that my 6-year-old self, I can work 50 hours, 100 hours in my sleep still. All right. I'm going to be in Tampa the next 4 days doing pretty much nothing, yet hanging out with my daughter. And most of the parents, so she was all asked with her troupe, who can come and chaperone? And 95% of the kids said, my parents can't, they're working. All right. So you've asked what lessons I've learned. One, price is irrelevant. And two, all of your audience needs to figure out their non-negotiables that they won't bend in order to bring on a client. All right, I go away in June and July on vacation, okay? Before I ever bring on a client, as an example, hopefully your audience can connect the dots. Before I bring on a client, I'll be like, hey, look, do you like to go on vacations?
I do.
Okay, when you're on vacation, Dustin, do you like to work or do you like to vacation?
I like to vacation.
Okay, so if I go on a vacation, it's okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. And I say all that, and I say that strictly because loan officers, I'm very close friend. All my clients become my friends. Mm-hmm. Christian Funes, who's in Tampa. I took him to Milan, Italy to watch a soccer game last February. All right. Whilst we're there, he's working the whole entire time. All right. And he said, Jamie, you cracked the code. I said, Christian, you're not being proactive enough with your realtors and with your clients, all right, to have the work-life balance so that when you come away for 5 days, you do not have to be working. He's like, give me an example. Just ask your client. Ask your realtor, do you like the idea of a work-life balance? If they say no, you don't want that person in your life.
I say fire them. Yeah.
Right. So the idea is, like, be like more, hey, do you like the idea of a work-life balance? Yeah. Well, if I go away for 5 days, then is it okay? If you run into the biggest pickle on the planet, obviously I'll be there. But if you're okay with it, I'll have someone who will be helping, taking care of that stuff whilst I'm away. Fair? Fair. Now he's not got his computer with him. He's not like feeling some form of stress with it. But it takes asking the questions first. So the two things. One is price irrelevant. Two is make your non-negotiables based on the activities and time, and find the clients that not round peg square hole. Find the people that align with you. Then you will never feel like you're working. You'll enjoy your life.
So if people want to come learn more with you,
right?
What's the best way, your preferred way, or what are their options to come learn more with Jamie Miller?
Okay. Either one, they're going to see me at a speaking engagement, all right? And if they've got big aspirations in life, they can text me on my cell phone, typically, is what I would be giving, all right? If they want to be part of my legacy platform, which we've already talked about a little bit, the interesting thing is this is proof of concept that I'm learning as I go. I've had over 200 people join the program since I started it in January, because I made my goal about how do I help as many people on the planet. You said you've got thousands and thousands of people listening into this. Okay. If it would be okay with you, how about would we be able to attach a link so that people that do want to learn more, they can go along, and I can give somewhat a similar discount that I would be giving at a speaking engagement, so your people feel pretty special, and now I get to test and measure as well at the same vein.
Yeah, what we'll do
like
is
that goes.
We'll have to put the link in the YouTube channel. I don't know how to put a link on Spotify or Apple.
Right.
But we can put a link on the YouTube channel, and then I can talk to my team about putting a link on our website somewhere.
Or what about this? Do people have the ability to contact you?
Yes.
Okay, so I tell you what, this is great. Here's the perfect test.
Oh, I thought you were going to give out your cell phone number the way you did from stage. Are you a little bit worried to do that in front of thousands?
Well, I can't. The whole point. Your audience probably loves. Hopefully, your audience understands there's vulnerability in the world. Okay, and I'm not someone who ever's going to profess I know everything, and I'm learning as I go with myself. Mm-hmm. I used to just work one-to-one. Then last year I gave myself the gift of time. What happens when I work with a very small group? I'm still continuing a small group, all right? And that's a higher investment. The legacy platform is my main mission in life, all right? It's like I literally let you bring your kids into it, inclusive in your investment.
Yeah, this is like a one-time fee, and the rest of my life I have access to your content, to you. Like a live training call.
Everything's done live.
Yes.
All right, I've even got one today at 4 p.m., all right?
Okay.
So what I'm learning is I can't give my cell phone number out to thousands of people because my business is me, and so I can't reach out to everyone on that basis. So what I'm looking to do is I'm learning as I go what the best. But one thing I can say factually is there'll never be the word sponsored next to my name. I'm not going to pay for marketing to get people. I'm doing all grassroots efforts. You love me, you tell other people about me. Scotty Hudspeth, different people love me, they tell other people about me. I go to and I'm just putting one foot in front of the other and care about how I leave people feeling. If someone's watched this and like, I really like what he explained about that. Oh, I'm not using a multiple choice question when someone asks me, what are the rates? Obviously, they'd be in their mind naturally probably thinking there's a lot more. My goal is how do I make it seamless so they get into the program and start benefiting and learning. I'm figuring that out for myself because it's 2 months. This is going to be the 3rd month of its existence because I'm trying to help millions of people in society and be remembered like a Dale Carnegie, right? Because I believe in what I can do for society. I guess this is great to be fresh to learn. It could be reaching out to you, and then they can I'll give you the link and you can send it to people.
So here's what we'll do. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, you can go to the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, and in the description we will have the link so that you can learn more about becoming a student of Jamie's.
Correct.
You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. First name is Dustin, last name is Owen. I'm one of the most connected people on LinkedIn. I think I'm over like 30,000 connections, and I take pride in that. And I take most pride that I'm extremely accessible. Like to those 30,000 people, I tempt you, I dare you to reach out. Rarely do I not get back within business hours, not days, business hours. So first name Dustin, last name Owen. If you want the link that Jamie's going to provide my team and I will be able to reply to you with that link. Just tell me what you liked best about the show. Or you can just, if you don't want to contact me on LinkedIn, first name Dustin, last name Owen, just go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and you can find this episode, and inside of the description, you'll be able to find the link yourself. We'll do that.
Perfect.
How about Instagram? What's your preferred method of people following you?
Being that I'm 47, Facebook is the one that I post on the most. LinkedIn, I'm not. It's funny. If someone's like, what's your LinkedIn? I'm like, we're probably not going to do business together, but if that's what you care about, for me personally.
Yes.
Instagram, I guess I'm trying to be cooler and hipper, like, because it's a younger audience. Facebook is the main one, but I've already got the 5,000 friends. So what people are doing is following me on the Facebook.
And are you just Jamie Miller?
Just Jamie Miller.
Just Jamie Miller. Website or no website?
There is a website, but no one knows. Like,
yes, I love it. You are like stripped down, like to your core.
But that's okay. So here's what,
like
I do it as a lesson for people. If you're being told make 100 calls, forget it. All right, it's not sustainable. It's not something you're going to enjoy doing every day. So find your golden geese. You do not need to be having thousands of followers on Facebook. I actually am happy being a complete nobody. All right, do you know Jamie? No, I don't. And to prove a point to everyone in the world, no matter what their industry is, I have a client who just came on board. He goes, finally, he goes, I have to come on board. I'm like, what was it for you? He goes, Jamie, I'm just fascinated every time. He goes, how you get someone to give you 36 grand and they don't know anything about you and done no research? I'm missing ingredients in my life because I feel like everyone has to go and do their research. And I'm like, they don't. You know, like we don't have to tell everyone a bunch of things. You have to provide value and abundance to people. And then as a result of doing that, I call it clarity. Did I provide clarity for your audience in the conversations they have? Because if they get clarity, they don't need a cheerleader like rah-rah. They're like, oh, I know what to do now. And then they can just make it sustainable every day and enjoy it.
Awesome. Jamie, thank you so
Cheers.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Jamie Miller. I'm Dustin Owen. You've just tuned in to an episode of the Loan Officer Podcast. If you like content like this, do us a favor. Sharing is caring. Make sure you share this episode not once, not twice, but 3 times with the people that matter most in your world, both in your life as well as in your work world. And if you are a loan originator who needs coaching, check out what we're doing over at tloponline.com. That's TLOP online.com. He's Jamie. I'm Dio. That's all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.